Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Them there are fighting words, and I have to say, I take the fact that the Speaker that just resumed his seat spent 80% of his time talking about the Labour Party as some kind of awkward flattery. But, Mr. Speaker, an adjournment speech does come with some tradition, and so I do want to spend some time acknowledging, as is tradition, those who support us in this House over the course of a term. Mr. Speaker, you're amongst those, and as is the Clerk of the House, the Office of the Clerk's staff, the Tables Office, the Bills Office, Hansard Interpretation, Select Committee staff, Parliamentary Relations, basically everyone who is forced to listen to MPs and their words and their discourse, we of course owe our thanks. The buildings team, contractor staff, Sergeant of Armed Security, our wonderful messages, Parliamentary Library, special thanks to the Datacom team, who I notice share my relentless positivity in the face of great adversity. Epicure staff, the cleaning staff, parliamentary services, my team, Claire Louise Chapman, my SBS, who's gone through dramatic change in recent times, Neil Jones, the Leaders Office team, Emma Williams, the Whips and our Whips Office team, MPs, EAs and our out-of-office staff. There are a group of people in this country who are the front line of democratic services. They are the ones without which people's voices wouldn't be heard. We owe them our debt of thanks, and we say to all of them, we'll see you soon, even if it's on the other side of the House. Mr. Speaker, today marks the end of the parliamentary term, but the beginning of the campaign of our lives. Because this campaign is not about victory for the sake of it. Campaigns have never been about just the race or the run-walk, because winning is not the destination. Campaigns are about change. They are about what is possible, and the 23rd of September marks opportunity, and the 24th of September marks the beginning. It marks the beginning, because now, as far as I'm concerned, yes, they say in politics that campaigns are lost by those governments that are in charge, but this time, this election will be won by us, because this is our moment. This is our moment. This is our moment to show that even if the odd New Zealander feels okay, or even if they feel indifferent, we can be better. This government has achieved what it came to do, and now it's time to do things differently. That means we do not have to accept having the highest homelessness in the OECD. We don't need to accept that. We don't have to accept declining home ownership, as the government has done. We don't have to accept that it will be a given that children, particularly in winter, will do their homework in a car by torchlight. And we also don't have to accept that there will be families who are now at Te Puia Marae, and I acknowledge the work that they do, but they have families, and a family there in particular, a mother of 9, who thinks it is her fault that she has lost her rental accommodation. That is a family in work who cannot find housing. That we do not have to accept. We do not have to accept the highest teen suicide rates in the OECD, or children not being able to find mental health care. And we certainly don't accept 70,000 young people not being in employment, education or training. It will never be a given for this party that 60% of our rivers will be degraded and unswimmable. That will never, ever be acceptable on our watch. We believe things can be better, and under Labour, they will be better. We can, Mr. Speaker, we can make home ownership possible again by building homes, by banning foreign overseas buyers from investing in our residential market, and by closing tax loopholes. We can house the homeless. That means stopping selling state houses and actually building some state houses and making sure we have emergency beds. We can give young people work and hope. We're ready to work, and through investing back in employers to take on apprentices again. It's a simple initiative, but one that they have supported and asked for. And on mental health, Mr. Speaker, something I feel particularly strongly about, Why can't we start with nurses in every school and 80 full-time professionals in Christchurch working with kids who need it most? Why can't we do that? And when it comes to our rivers, we will not accept that it is too hard. We will not accept that. And we will not accept a position that we simply sit back and allow this degradation continue. We've set our standards and our sights higher, no matter how hard that proposition might be. Now, Mr. Speaker, while we will continue to talk about what's possible on this side of the House and how we can be better, you're probably going to hear a little bit of scaremongering during this campaign. In fact, you may or may not have just heard 10 minutes of it from the previous speaker. Not only scaremongering, I don't mean to use such disparaging language about Mr. Brownlee, not only scaremongering, but you'll hear policies that don't even exist being thrown around this House and thrown around this debate. You'll hear as well that lifting everyone will come at the cost of the economy, and that our view that we can lift everyone and have a more prosperous nation will come at the cost of the economy. From us, you'll hear different. We do not have to accept falling GDP per capita. You want to talk about the economy, Mr. Brownlee? Let's talk about the economy. You do not have to accept that a strong economy means, we have to make sure that a strong economy means people feeling better off. And currently having 2/3 of people in work with wage packets that aren't keeping pace with inflation is unacceptable to the Labour Party. That is unacceptable to the Labour Party. A strong economy is not just measured by GDP, it is measured by how people fare. And if you ask New Zealanders whether or not they feel better off, whether they're going forwards or backwards, I can predict the answer that they'll give you. So, Mr. Speaker, if you want to talk about the economy this election, then game on. Game on. Because on Labour's side, we actually have an intention to lift our economic sights, and that starts, Mr. Brownlee, that starts by talking about productivity. Right. And in fact, the Governor of the Reserve Bank, Brian Fallow, Bernard Doyle from JB Ware, just in the last week have all raised the fact that productivity in New Zealand is hugely problematic, and this government has done nothing about it. Absolutely nothing about it. And this is where our weakness and our vulnerability lies. Where is the investment in lifting the skills of our workers? Where is the focus on the threat that automation presents for our workforce? We should be making sure that education is not just a destination but a conveyor belt that we dip in and dip out of. That is why Labour has promoted 3 years of free tertiary, polytech, apprenticeship, industry training for our workforce because of our failure to improve our productivity. It's about educating our workforce. It's about investing in our regions. They are our forgotten voters, Mr. Brownlee. They are absolutely our forgotten voters. I ask you, when was the last time you visited Gisborne? When was the last time you asked them, Mr. Brownlee, about the investment in regional economic development? We will partner with councils and economic development agencies to deliver projects that will deliver jobs. And finally, Mr. Speaker, some of the worst investment in innovation relative to other countries we compare ourselves to, and that's another reason that our productivity isn't lifting. We need an R&D tax credit. That will give certainty to business when they're investing in their future and in our future. Mr. Speaker, we can do all of that together. All of that together. And I do not accept that when it comes to the economy that the status quo is acceptable. We have lifted our sights higher. We want to work with business, with employers, with employees on making sure that our economy delivers for everyone. We are not satisfied. Mr. Speaker, New Zealand can be better. We can all be better. The government can be better, and our intent is on the 23rd of September. We'll show just how much better we can be, so let's do this.
Order. 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 James Shaw.
Tanakwe, Mr. Speaker.
Tanakwe.